like bring my boyfriend to that point, and I'm like, you should come with us. Right? He's like, we should. I'm like, but she had tuned in like as soon as like I think and then later that day, we talked in the car to like go to dinner, and she was like, wait,
You know, and everybody is great. You know, everybody has their own greatness. Everybody has their own value. You know what I mean? And everybody has their own, you know, their own spirit that they can contribute to all of us. So what's the big difference between the Panasonic GH7 and any other Micro Four Thirds camera? Or any other camera for that matter? Like really, what's the difference? You know, I mean, there's a difference if you're talking about full frame, APS-C or Micro Four Thirds, which is just the size of the sensor. But is there a difference in the quality that you can get out of the camera?
Yeah, he definitely made a horrible. Yeah, I know.
So I was in New York City yesterday, my beloved New York City. Had to take a trip down from upstate, where I live now, because we had the opening gathering for the Manhattan Film Festival. And I had a great time, you know, and I'm not the schmoozing guy, you know, I'm not the very sociable person, you know, and with regards to my art, I usually like to let my art speak for itself. But, you know, I know that sometimes I gotta go places and talk about myself, and I don't really feel comfortable with that. I mean, I'm good at marketing to get people to come to see my performances and stuff like that, but I am certainly not good at talking about myself. And that's what this thing was kind of all about. But I met some really interesting people, and I had a really good time. And it made me think, you know, it made me think about all these videos that I've been watching about the Panasonic S9 and, you know, now the GH7 and stuff like that. And, you know, YouTuber filmmaking videos in general. So everything about my camera, everything that it does, I appreciate it all for the same reason, that it helps me to tell the story that I want to tell. I mean, I can't imagine, and I guess this is my point of this video, I can't imagine wanting a camera just for all of the specs, like all of the possibilities that it does. Like I could never make a decision buying a camera unless I knew the stories that I wanted to tell. It made me think about, like, also about how people tend to somehow find their way to be talking about each other quite often, which I don't really understand what the sense is in that, you know what I mean? Like, to kind of judge one another or, you know, kind of rip each other apart for the way that they're talking about certain things or the way they approach the review or whatever, you know, like, you know, I see it in everything, you know, in society, like in sports, like these, you know, sports talk personalities attacking one another. And I don't know, it just seems like, you know, even athletes attacking one another, this whole thing now with Caitlin Clark and the WNBA, it's amazing to me that people, I feel, are moving further and further away from worried about the things that they're actually doing, you know, or I'm wondering if most people even have a plan to do something, or if their plan is just to talk about everything. Get immersed in your stories, because when you get immersed in your stories, you're going to find yourself watching way fewer YouTube videos, and you're going to be working on your stories much more. You're going to be creating art, you're going to be inspired, you're going to want to like put stuff out there and share it, and it's going to be exciting, and it's going to be inspiring, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be meaningful. You know, I think that the advent of YouTube and social media has a lot of people just talking about stuff, but they don't really do anything, you know. They're just influencers, you know, personalities. And, you know, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but I am saying that it kind of bores me, you know. And I also don't like the fact that usually it's not in good spirit, you know what I mean? Usually it's criticizing somebody or, you know, trying to take somebody down, you know, or trying to take somebody's place, you know. It's competition. It's stupid to me. Like, I just don't like it, you know. And it made me think a lot about, you know, and I had a lot of time to think about it because the train, even though if I just drove, it would have taken me like an hour to get downtown. Like, I can get to the Bronx in like 45 minutes to an hour, but it would have taken me probably an hour and a half to get to the theater or the club where this gathering was, which is right around the corner from the theater where my film is going to be showing in this festival. But it took me about a little over 2 hours to get down there between, you know, the train that gets me to the city and then to just take the subway to this gathering. It took me a little over 2 hours. So I'm just saying I had plenty of time to think. Full frame, micro four thirds, APS-C, personally, I don't see any difference. And I know people are going to go, oh, he's an idiot, he's so stupid, he doesn't know what he's talking about. I could work with any of those cameras, any of those formats, and get exactly what I want. And, you know, I just wonder, like, if you're looking to say, you know, if you're talking about upgrading your camera, of course, I understand going to videos and checking out, you know, the GH7, for example. Of course, a motorcycle has to go by right now when I start talking about shit. Why do most motorcycle owners, why they never heard of a muffler? Like, what? I don't understand that. Anyway, see, there I go talking about other people. But that's annoying. So I can understand going and getting, you know, looking at reviews of cameras and stuff like that. I mean, even before the internet and before all this stuff, you know, I'm old enough to remember Consumer Report, you know. People would go to this magazine and it had reviews of basically anything. Like, you know, you could review a camera, reviews of running shoes, reviews of refrigerators, of cars, of anything. You know, you could find it on Consumer Report. And then when the internet, you know, got big, it got even bigger, you know, like you could find reviews for even more of everything, you know. But then social media came and YouTube, and now suddenly there are reviews, but you don't even know if the person reviewing it has any idea what they're talking about, you know. You don't have any, you don't know if they have any kind of credibility at all. And if you think they do have credibility, what exactly is that credibility based on? This dude is just like driving back and forth. I don't understand. So anyway, you know, so you have to really be careful about who you listen to and who you believe and who you trust. And yes, that's what all these videos have been about for the past couple of weeks, right, with the Panasonic S9. But what I'm thinking about has nothing to do with any of that, you know? And actually, it's kind of cool because I'm shooting this right now on Panasonic GH5, which is, in the grand scheme of things right now, an ancient camera, right? Albeit legendary, but it's ancient to people. I mean, it came out in like 2017, I believe, so it's 7 years old. And since I bought this camera, and I got it as a backup for my Panasonic S5, I am amazed at how beautiful it looks. Like, everything I shoot with this camera looks like a movie, you know? Even if I don't quite get my exposure right or whatever, it's got great dynamic range. It just looks really beautiful. There's something about this sensor that's really good. And I personally think it might have something to do with the fact that it doesn't have phase detect autofocus, and it's not as sharp as some of the other cameras. And I think that's what we're actually looking for as filmmakers, right? Because that's why we're getting black pro mist filters and cine bloom filters and using, I mean, ND filter you need to get your exposure right. But personally, I don't ever like to shoot without an ND filter, you know, unless it's really dark. But it's cool that I'm shooting with the GH5 because, first of all, it looks beautiful, you know, like it's just incredible. And, you know, obviously I'm showing you a lot of, you know, footage that I shot on my way to and from this thing last night. Just because, you know, that's what I do. I always have my camera with me and I just like to shoot wherever I am and whatever I'm doing. I think that's a cool thing to do. And I really believe that one of the reasons people are so obsessed with one another, so obsessed with, you know, like overly analyzing each other and judging one another and being, you know, having this pejorative kind of attitude, you know, like, I think it's because they have no idea what they want to do. Or even worse, they're afraid to do what they really want to do. Why do you want a camera? Why do you want these lenses? Why do you need a 50 millimeter or an 85 millimeter? Or why do you need a 200 to 600? Or why do you need a wide angle lens? Why? Why do you need f1.2? Why do you need t2.0? Why? Why do you need T? Do you even know the difference between T and F? Like, maybe there are people who have a really good idea, like, I want to make a film about XYZ, about whatever, you know, or I want to make a documentary, and they have something in mind, you know, but they're afraid to do it. Why do you need vintage lenses? Why do you need to shoot anamorphic? For what? You know, because it's easy to make camera reviews, you know, it's easy to criticize other people. You know, it's easy to talk about lenses and gimbals and lights, and it's easy to talk about, you know, the beefs of the S9 or whatever. It's easy to talk about all that shit. Why do you need the best dynamic range? Why? Why do you need autofocus? Do you really want autofocus? But it's harder to actually do a project because, first of all, you're not going to be on social media as much, you know, because you're going to be preoccupied with the project you're actually working on. What are you trying to say? What are you doing? What do you want? What do you want? And you're going to be involved in that. And so you're not going to get this constant kind of, you know, endorphin boost in your body of people reacting to your video or your social media posts or whatever. You're going to be like in the woodshed doing your work, you know, figuring out how to tell a story, you know, how to make a movie or how to write a play and then produce it and perform it or whatever you do. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to be actually doing art. And then hopefully you're going to share it, and then you're going to put yourself out there for all these people to criticize you. And the thing is, and what's really ironic about it, I think, because this is kind of an artist space, right? Like, if you're a filmmaker or a photographer, you're an artist, you know, you're practicing an art form. You know, photography is an art form. Filmmaking is an art form. You know, documenting life is an art form. Writing is an art form, you know. Lighting is an art form. It's all art forms, you know. And so you're putting yourself out there to be criticized, but, you know, you're mostly going to be criticized by people who ain't doing shit. They're doing nothing. They have no right to criticize you. There are so many things to consider. There are too many cameras. There are too many systems, too many lenses, too many options. And it all will get you the exact same result if you know what you're doing. And so what's really behind it? You know, what are you really looking for? What are you really searching for? That's the thing that I think you need to think about. Like, why are you not able to pull the trigger on the camera that you need? You know, like, obviously there's a story that you want to tell, right? Is that why you want a camera? Or, you know, if it's not a specific story, it's weddings that you want to do, or a documentary that you want to do, or this corporate work that you want to do, or you want to be a portrait photographer. Like, what is it that you want to do? Oh man, it's starting to rain. I'm going to have to finish this pretty quick here because it's getting ready to rain. Anyway, don't be afraid to do your work. Don't be afraid. You have incredible knowledge now, you know, like if you've watched all these, you know, reviews of cameras and things like that, if you've done them yourself, if you're just on this YouTube space, if you're an influencer or whatever, you probably have a lot more knowledge than you think you have. And so I think that you really need to check yourself and think, like, what are you afraid of? Like, why are you afraid to do something real? I'm trying to look downtown, and the only way to get on the bridge now is on the uptown side, and all you can see is like Jersey and Yonkers, and who wants to do that? I'm speaking to the people who want to do, you know, like documentaries or narrative films. Don't criticize other people, and don't just talk about the tech. You know, don't get stuck on the tech. Because at the end of the day, the tech doesn't even matter, you know? As long as you have a very basic level of technical knowledge, and as long as you have a basic level, like a, you know, basic professional level of how to get things done, which shouldn't take you too long to get to, you know? I mean, at the most, you go to film school, and after 4 years, you have a high level of technical acumen to be able to do this. But, you know, at the least, if you're on YouTube and you're watching every day, it only takes a couple of months to understand ISO and white balance and composition and, you know, all that kind of stuff, you know, focusing. I mean, you got enough to do a project. So, you know, don't be afraid, you know, take that step, because trust me, the whole world will be so much more interesting. And the other thing about it is that then I think when you start to commit to projects like that, and you start to say, you know, create a world that's a fictional world, and you start to develop characters that you've made up, you know, all of that is going to be based on your life experience. And if we all do that, you know, then we're sharing our life experiences together, and it can only grow our empathy, because, you know, people who are just talking shit about stuff that they have nothing to do with, and that they're not really creating these experiences of doing things themselves and thinking about other people, not just always thinking about themselves and their profile and the way they look and what angle they look best at. And, you know, like when you start to write a story and you have to think about other people and learn about other people and do research, you know, your empathy can only grow. And, you know, as our empathy grows, you know, the world becomes a better place to live in, you know, because I think that's what's lacking everywhere, is empathy, you know, is love. Every camera is great, everything is great, you know, and everybody is great. You know, everybody has their own greatness. Everybody has their own value, you know what I mean? And everybody has their own, you know, their own spirit that they can contribute to all of us. And again, I believe if you're creating a story, if you're creating characters that are based on other people, if you have to do research, if you have to learn about what it's like to live in Ireland, if your story takes place in Ireland or San Francisco or the Bronx or Miami or whatever, you know, it just goes a long way to study that, you know, to talk to people from there. What are you afraid of? You know, what's holding you back? You know, don't be afraid. You know, I think that there's this incredible opportunity sitting in front of you to sit down, take the camera that you have. Don't worry about spending so much money. Don't worry about getting the perfect camera or the camera that does everything. You know, I have the GH5. If I only had the GH5, because I have a Panasonic S5 too. Now, most people watching this space probably think I have two bullshit cameras, but they're two incredible cameras. And you know what? Next week, June 19th at 9 o'clock, there's a bunch of people at the Manhattan Film Festival who are going to be enjoying my film that was shot on a Panasonic S5 with two cheap-ass Minolta vintage lenses on a gigantic screen at a big film festival. And I'm proud of that. And you could do that, you know? I could have done that with a GH5, no doubt. I did it with my phone. I did it with an LG V40 phone. It won all kinds of awards. I'm telling you, you could do it. But you're afraid. There's a lot of people who are afraid, and I think society has put us in this place where it's much easier to sit behind your keyboard and, you know, sit behind your screen and not actually get out into the world and really do something and really contribute to all of us and kind of, you know, break the fourth wall of life. You know, you don't have to break the fourth wall of art, you know, and I don't really like to do that so much. I like to create a story and then bring us all into this bubble, you know. I can't even get off this bridge. Like, I can't even get up to it. I can't even walk on that side, you know? And I got this whole thing, you know, I'm like, I got to look at Lower Manhattan. But I'm telling you, you have an incredible opportunity, a chance to really do great things because you have so much talent. Your gifts are so grand. You don't even realize how much you've learned from being in this space. So I just think if everybody decided to actually make art, you know, to make things that we can talk about and discuss and talk about the human condition and really try to understand one another and add to one another's existence, you know, and make life better for one another and make life more equitable and try to get rid of oppression across the board and try to deal with racism and misogyny and anti-Semitism and xenophobia and homophobia and transphobia and all the horrible things. We have the opportunity to fix all that shit. You know, there's got to be something in your life that is so compelling, that is so necessary to get out of your body, that it's going to set you free from this disease of gas or whatever you want to call it, of just needing to buy more gear or a new gear or whatever, or the best gear or the greatest lens, the greatest camera. Like, there's something about caring about something human, something real, something that you need to share that is really your offering. So why not? You know, why not? Why is it a better alternative to dog each other all the time? You know, to want to fight each other. Like sometimes, you know, I've gotten some comments sometimes where I'm like, yo, you would not be talking like that to me in person. Trust me. You would not do that. You would just feel the energy in front of you and those words would not come out of your mouth. And I'm not saying that because I would beat your ass. I'm saying that because that's what empathy is. It's feeling human energy, you know? And so if we can't be in person, we can share these beautiful stories. We can take difficult things, you know? We can take things that are controversial or things that are hurting other people and turn them into a beautiful story, turn them into beautiful art. That's something that is amazing, you know? And I think if you're an artist, and I've said it before, in my opinion, that's a life well lived. And so that's what I was thinking of when I was going back and forth to the festival, you know? Like, I wish more people would make actual art and, you know, be happy with the cameras they have. Like, right now I'm using a GH5, right? I got it for $475. I'm using a TT Artisan 17mm f1.4 lens. And by the way, you've seen some of the shots in this video. How do they look in the dark? I shot them all with this. Like, in the dark, this camera looks beautiful. And I use this lens to shoot all this B-roll. And it's like, there is absolutely no excuse. This lens cost me $75 on Amazon. Brand new, not used, not on eBay, like Amazon. 75 bucks. I also got a Mikey 35mm f1.4. I think it cost me 65 bucks on Amazon because I just wanted 2 micro 4/3 lenses. I didn't have any. So I'm just saying, for a total of 550 bucks, you could have this, what I have. There's something holding you back. There's something stopping you from making that choice. There's something keeping you from diving in and saying, you know what, now I got it. Like, I have this thing. I have these lenses. I have this camera. I have these lights. I have everything. Now I got to do something with it. Now I have to create something. And then you start to wonder, like, why did I get this again? What did I have to say? What am I trying to contribute? What am I doing? I'm using what is it, Hollyland Lark Max. I only bought one mic and I have the receiver. That cost me, I think, like 130 bucks or something like that, because I didn't buy the whole thing. But, you know, if you get the 2 mics and the charging case and all that, it's $2.99 or something like that. But you don't need it. I mean, I have a Boya mic, a shotgun mic that costs, well, somebody gave it to me as a gift, another YouTuber, but they cost $32, I've seen them for. And I have a Purple Panda lavalier mic that costs 50 bucks. And you can get a Zoom H1N, you know, 24-bit, 96 kilohertz audio recorder for 79 bucks. So for less than $600, you can have a pro setup, because all that shit that I just talked about, take away the pro camera and the lenses and add phone. I shot a feature-length 2.5-hour film that won mad laurels, lots of awards, best feature, best actor, best original score, best smartphone film, like all this stuff. With just that, you know, like, you don't let a budget hold you back. Don't let anything hold you back. If you don't have an idea of what you want to do, all of this stuff that you got starts to be meaningless to you. You start to get bored with it. And then you start obsessing again, like, oh my God, well, this doesn't have as good, you know, dynamic range as this new camera. Like, maybe I should swap them out, you know, and switch. And meanwhile, you're not doing anything. Like, what are you doing? You know? And certainly don't get caught up in the negativity of the internet and of social media and sometimes of YouTube. I mean, I love the YouTube space of filmmaking. I've learned so much from it. But I don't like when people are criticizing one another because I think it's bullshit. You know what I mean? Because so many people speak about stuff that it's obvious they have no idea what they're talking about. So think about what you want to do, how you want to work, you know, what your stories are going to be. Don't just think about the camera. Don't just look at the specs. That has nothing to do with anything. You have to think about, what do you want to make? What kind of art do you want to make? And then I have a feeling you'll have a much easier time choosing the right camera for you. Don't be afraid. Don't let it stop you. Get out there and do stuff. I look forward to seeing it. I'll watch it. You know, if you made a movie or something like that, let me know. I'll check it out. And did this get too dark over time? Maybe it did. I don't know. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, all of that kind of stuff. And I'll do another video when I feel like it really soon. And wish me luck. Next Wednesday, the 19th, my movie is showing, and I'm very excited about seeing it on a big-ass screen in the middle of New York City in a legendary theater like Cinema Village. Yeah. Think about what you want to make and then choose the appropriate camera for that. And now, I feel like I'm repeating myself a lot, so I'm going to end this video right now.